The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, let's start for today's session. Hello, everyone. This is Ming from the SMA Product Management team. Today's session is for the SMA Suite 2019 February release. And today's session will mainly focus on release readiness for SMA SM. And in this session, we may share some future information around the SMA roadmap. So we want to highlight the confidential information disclaimer here. And for this release readiness webinar, it's a regular release webinar almost every 3 months, because now for the SMA Suite, we have a 3 release frequency per year. So every 3 months, you will get a regular release readiness webinar to get you some brief introduction about what's coming next in the next release, and to help the business owner or technical practitioner to get prepared and to get an understanding for the future migration update to the next version. And so for this release readiness session, we'll also have the Micro Focus employee and the partners join as well. But after that, we have a dedicated field session right after this session. So for this specific release readiness session, we will answer customers' question first, and to make sure customers' question can be addressed as a priority. So in case during the session you have any question, please feel free to raise your question in the question pane. We will answer that, and we'll have a dedicated Q&A session in this meeting. Okay, for the readiness, actually we have a separate separate session for both SMA source portal. So now we are after today's session, we will schedule another dedicated technical drill down for the mixed mode deployment, which is around the 21st of March next month. So the potential topic to be covered in that technical webinar is around more technical details about a single deployment introduced in February release, the system requirement assigning guidance around the mixed mode deployment, and the migration process overview for existing SM customer, especially for a customer who has already adopted the previous SM source portal like SRC, SMSP, or the Propel. And also, after today's session, if you have any question, please feel free to send an email to me, and we can have additional clarification on the mixed mode deployment in the following session. Okay, today we have a little bit busy agenda. So for this release readiness, I will cover both February release for SMA SM and also the Service Manager 962. So 962 is also part of the SMA February release. So I will give you some release highlights around it, including the demonstration. And afterwards, I will give you a very high-level introduction about SMA SM deployment for the mixed mode customers. And then meanwhile, Tonya from SM Product Management team will give you some update around the evolution program. And then we'll have an open Q&A, and afterwards is housekeeping and the next steps after today's release readiness session. Due to the content and topic to be discovered, I will not have cover everything we improved, enhanced in the February release. Instead, I will also provide some content in the appendix. So please feel free to download the handouts uploaded in today's webinars, and you can get more advanced information around the additional February release enhancement, some improvement on the practitioner portal, and also where you can find the customer education course and additional SMA information available online. Okay, that's all the agenda for today. Let's go to the major topic we want to discuss. Firstly, is around the SMA service portal. So for this service portal, actually, it's a kind of now service portal is a shared component which is on top of the whole SMA suite. And if you are the SMA suite customer, you know that when you enable a license, actually you can have both Service Manager and the SMAX. And of course, you can decide to enable or leverage which technology or which deployment, either for the Service Manager as a backend or for the SMAX. But on top of that, we have a shared service portal component that is SM portal, including the native mobile apps capability. And for this specific service portal, I think one of the unique capability we want to share with our customers is always about the AI or the machine learning capability. And you know that nowadays enterprise want a simpler approach to getting employee question answered, and definitely with that the solution is with automated learning and routing, and by leveraging the AI and the machine learning capability, not only for the portal part and also for the backend side, the Microforce continue to introduce more capability around this part. And also for the portal itself, it's quite straightforward, and it's quite easy for the end user to have some hands-on experience. So that's the reason we didn't provide the end user guide for this service portal. So if you it's your first time to see the service portal, that's one of the screenshot we captured for our landing page of the service portal, and you can see it's quite straightforward. We provided some capability around idle-based search and the virtual agent, more related to AI and the machine learning capability, and also for the basic catalog, basic service portal capability like a catalog offering, the shopping cart, and the kind of notification, the news alert on active outage. Those kind of things are all aggregated together in the single portal, and also the native mobiles can be activate for the end user purpose. So what we have enhanced in the February release is especially for the SM service portal for Service Manager, that is, we call it the mix mode. By leveraging this capability in the February, we changed a lot in the architecture from architecture perspective. So from February release, there's no data duplication or the data persistence issue you may have even in the previous mix mode, or you are in the previous SMSP or Propel customer. And we try to keep our existing SM customers' investment as much as possible, and it just need to consider the movement of the portal from the old one to the new one. And meanwhile, we keep the consistent data model across the portal and the Service Manager, also including the single sign-on support for the both. And one of the major topics we introduced in this release is a single deployment mode. So for this single deployment mode, it's actually from installation perspective, nothing changed, and there only have one deployment mode to support both mixed mode and the SMAX deployment. And we introduce a new SM gateway service, which will be used to broker and send a request to SM backend. And as you can see, which means now from February, once you install or deploy the SMA suite, you have a choice to either to deploy the SMAX as a SMAX talent, or either deploy the SM gateway as a SM talent to communicate with the external Service Manager, or you can have both SMAX and the SM gateway in the same deployment. So that's to allow our customer or SME store base to expand their capability to the SMAX, or they want to try the capability of the ESM, which can be developed by the SMAX platform. And from a license perspective, there's no extra license is required for SMA service portal with SM backend. Nothing changed in this February release. You can still to get this new portal capability without any extra fee. And yeah, from the functionality perspective, from February, we do have some improvement. First is around an ID display in the portal. So previously, also like a Propel customer or previous mixed model customer, you have some challenge to get a better understanding of the portal ID displayed, like a POR, PT, PR number more related to the Propel. And from February release, we removed the Propel layer completely. So from February release, only SM interaction ID will be displayed in the portal. So to make it more consistent and to make it have a better communication between the end user and IT agent. And meanwhile, from the customization capability, the checkout panel can be supported for the source portal from February release. So now source support request, the service request, and the generic request, all of them, the checkout panel can be supported from the flexibility customization perspective. And by leveraging this customization capability, the customer can have more flexibility to define their own checkout panel. Like some customers do have some requirement to autofill the title and description of the request. So that's something can be done through this configuration. And also, we introduce a new portal configuration settings to allow customer to define additional configuration setting related to portal. One of them is a status mapping between SM interaction and the request phase on the portal UI. So in the portal, basically we leveraging the request phase, the meta phase, to display and show the progress of the request. So no matter which backend you are using, we can map that status to the request phase to be displayed in the portal. And meanwhile, from this release, we can also support requests on behalf for the support offering besides the service offering, which has already been supported in the previous version. And also from this release, the attachment type and the size can be uploaded in the portal is also configurable. Of course, its configuration, the type and the size is leveraging the definition defined in the service manager. Because previously in the SM side, we can allow the customer or admin to define such kind of the information around the attachment type. And about the single sign-on, as I mentioned earlier, from this release, we support the single sign-on and between the portal and the SM web tier. And of course, for the external service manager with this source portal, the SAML-based SSO is validated, but customer, they need to use the IDM in the SMA suite, not the IDM in the source manager part. So that's something I want to highlight here. And the additional enhancement in the February around the service portal is we introduced a new required action tab. So previously, as you can see in the current screen, on the right, right top, there is action, we call it a required action. And right after that, it will a button named as Show All. So originally, when you click Show All, it will show all of the requests, no matter it require our customers or end users action or not, but the behavior itself is kind of misleading because it's just located at right after required action. So to make it more clear, In this release, we create a new required action tab and to list all the requests which required and users required action. And also for the knowledge part, now from February release, we fill the gap about the providing knowledge feedback on the portal, like the add comments or sum up, sum down. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, in this release for SMA SM service portal, we introduce a new portal configuration settings page, which including several settings around the portal configuration. Like you can define a customized tab for request list, additional URL launchers, which can be directed to the external link, and a customized action like accept, deny, or cancel the request, those kind of things, and also the status mapping between service manager and the portal status. And also it allows you to define the group for the request on behalf capability. Okay, then let me give you a quick demo. Okay, as you can see now, here is a login page for the service portal. And in the previous release, we already support the branding for the login page. But this is now still the out-of-box, the Micro Focus style. And when you log in as the end user, Amy Lopez, you can see the landing page and list all the information, personalized information can be available to myself. And I can search something, for example, the network, it will show all the search result and list here. And also it's based on the IDO and the capability. And I can choose some specific category and also corresponding subcategories. And yes, it will give you the information around the catalog offering and knowledge article belongs to that specific category. And then when I try to order some service available to myself, like then I firstly to choose some information, and you can see now all the dynamic user option can be displayed correctly in the form. And all of this definition now is managed and controlled in the Service Manager Service Catalog modules. And once I finish all the required information for the ordering, I either can submit directly or I can add it to the cart. And then when I try to check out, I need to fill all additional checkout information. And yes, like the urgency or contact method, something like that, and submit this service request. And once the service request has been submitted, yeah, you can review this request detail to make sure everything is accurate. And also, if something need to be approved before the execution or fulfillment, you can get that information from approval chain. Then now I log in at the SD approver to log in and to check the pending approval in my list. So now I can get to the list of the pending approval in the approval list, and in that list you can see this pending approval related to the request submitted by the Amy Lopez. And once I approve that information, yeah, add comments, and this is optional, and also, of course, it's mandatory when you want to deny the pending approval. And once this service request has been approved, it will go to the fulfillment phase. And then the corresponding fulfillment team, request fulfillment team will handle this, the fulfillment of this service request. And then later, it will get back to the end user. So I log in at the Epilompits. I can see that in my open request list, what the latest status of this service request I submitted before. And now its status has been moved to the in progress, and it has been approved. So approved history, you can see it's approved. And now, yes, it will move to the, it's already moved to the fulfillment phase, which will be handled by the fulfillment team. And yes, and in the service manager side, as the fulfillment team owners, you can open this ticket interaction firstly, and the corresponding fulfillment record will be created automatically, and also corresponding fulfillment will be handled by the request fulfillment team. So for this part, I just quickly skip the steps. And once all the fulfillment tasks have been finished, and this service request will be resolved by the fulfillment team. And now you can see the status of this service request has been updated to the resolved and moved to the validation phase. And now the status has been moved. Now as an end user, you can choose whether you accept or reject this solution provided by the service fulfillment team. If I choose or click the accept, this service request will be closed automatically. And that is a very typical or normal workflow for the service request. And then let's take a look at the portal configuration settings. Okay, I log in at the Falcon as a portal administrator. And in this page, I can get additional privilege to manage the configuration settings. And as you can see now, the multiple tabs have been displayed here to allow the administrator to define the portal-related configuration settings, like the customize the tab, customize the link, additional customized action, like accept service, reject the service, cancel the service, those kind of things. And I can also define a different backend SM action related to this customized action. And also for the status mapping, you can define the status between the request and the interaction in the service manager side. And also you can manage the group for the service portal in this portal configuration settings. And for the specific request on behalf capability, you need to leverage this impersonation tab to define those request on behalf group accordingly. So that's the overview of the service portal in the February release. And then let's go back to the deck. Okay, so next I will give you some overview introduction about what's coming next. It's not what's coming next. The Service Manager 962 is general available today on the SSO. So because it's a minor, so you can you already can download that Service Manager 962 and to try this new capability. And for the SMA February release, we already MR today, and which will be generally available on the early March next month. And for the Service Manager 962, actually, although it's a minor, but we do have some great improvement in this release, especially for the first two, the enhanced change analytics and the new information retrieval solution. I will describe a little bit detail in the later slides. And besides those two capability, in this release, we also have some additional customer enhancement. First one is we provide the guidance for the migration from Oracle to PG. We introduced the PG support from Service Manager 961, and we have seen the trend that in SM install base, more and more customer is considering move to the PG, even for some big SM install base. So besides the migration from Oracle to PG, we are also considering to provide the guidance and around the migration from DB2 to PG, and which will be provided later. And also in this release, we provide a smart search widget in the form designer of the Service Manager. So previously, this smart search widget is kind of hard-coded. You cannot change the location or where it will be placed in the Service Manager, either in SM web tier or ESS. So but now from this release, by leveraging this capability, you have more flexibility to define your form related to smart search. And also we have some accessibility improvement. We continue to improve the accessibility in Service Manager. And also now when you do the upgrade utility will auto-detect the version you installed in your environment and help you to automatically choose the upgrade package during the upgrade process. So you don't need manually to select which upgrade utility or upgrade package you need to choose during the upgrade. And for the support metrics, yeah, we had 7.6, PG 10.x, and Oracle 18C and OpenJDK to replace Oracle JDK, because basically Oracle recently for some time Oracle already announced to kind of the support the it's kind of to have extra fee to get the standard service on the Oracle support. So by means of that, micro focus level, we have a kind of strategy to move to the OpenJDK strategy. So also meanwhile in this release, we support chat on the Linux server. That's something we update around the support metrics. Yes, about the first big capability we introduced in the 962 is around the enhanced change analytics. So if you are the SM customers, you may be familiar with the name of the release control, another separate product. So mainly focus on the change planning and the change analysis process with automatic change execution and validation. So previously, by leveraging the integration between Service Manager and Release Control, you can have a better way to reduce the risk of the service downtime and to increase the change success rate. However, it also introduces complexity by leveraging the integration capability. So back to several years ago, from the Service Manager 934, we start to introduce a native release control capability inside of the Service Manager. Like the time period, the Service Manager calendar, those kind of things, yeah, we introduced for quite a long time. And in the Service Manager 962 release, we introduced another capability. We call it the risk assessment and calculation. And yeah, so by leveraging all of this capability from Service Manager 962, we kind of confident that we already have provide a comprehensive collection of the change analytics functionality, which can replace the existing integration with release control. So for above this capability, no extra license is required. And of course, for the existing release control version, we still support that until the end of support. So following the standard support policy, but we highly recommend our customer to consider to take a look at this native release control capability. Yeah, so something new we introduced in this release is around the risk assessment and calculation. Actually, for this capability, we introduce two types of the risk factor. One is the user-based, and for this user-based risk factor, customers they need manually to enter the values during the change assessment phase. And for the system-based risk factor, it's just like the name, it means that it calculated by system automatically. So kind of for the final risk result is kind of the combination, the result of the user-based risk and the system-based risk. And also for the risk result itself, we provided the version identifier to make sure different version of the change risk assessment for one single change record can be logged correctly in the system to make sure this risk assessment result can be tracked back in one single change record. And for Service Manager 962, this risk assessment calculation is supported out of the box. And meanwhile, we also provide a separate download for SM95X, Service Manager 960, and Service Manager 961 customers. We provide a separate download file, which has been delivered as a content pack in the marketplace. So feel free to download and try yourself in your local environment. And we have shown this new capability to several SM install base before we officially released those capability, and the feedback was quite positive. So yeah, we would like to encourage you to try that capability. And for the following several pages, I will not go to that detailed level because actually that existing capability we introduced for quite a long time, like the CI impact visualization and the impact analysis. We provide this capability since version Service Manager 950. So the integration between Service Manager and U7DB enable the user to see the visualize the relationship and the impact result directly inside of the Service Manager. So, and meanwhile, for the time period management, so yeah, customer, you can leverage the time period management to manage the time period definition for the organization. So the user can have a better support in the planning phase of their change, and together with less impact. So that's also something we introduced since Service Manager 934 together with the calendar capability. So so that's the part for the native release control or enhanced change analysis capability. And also in the 962, we introduced a new information retrieval solution. That's one of the pain in our SM install base. We used to get multiple customers instant around this old solution. And in the Service Manager 962, we introduced a new solution by leveraging the native full text searching feature in the DBMS, which allow us to reduce the complexity of the configuration from the administrator perspective, and also from the user perspective. It improved the search experience a lot. So the number I listed in the current table, it can show you some testing result based on the lab testing. Although maybe it's not so accurate in your environment, but you can get some feeling about what kind of levels improvement has been done. I mean, compare the new IR solution to the old IR solution. Normally, it's from the hours has been reduced to 2 minutes. That's a big improvement, I would say, around this new IR solution capability. Okay, then next I will give you a demo around the risk assessment and calculation. Okay, so firstly, as a change coordinator, I open the existing normal change, and now this change is pending for the change assessment. So now you can see in the risk assessment, this specific field, there's a button, we call it the risk calculation. And when I click that button, you can get a list of the question predefined around for the risk assessment. And as a change coordinator, I can manually fill in those values. So in the outer box of the Source Management 62, we do have a list of the risk group with a corresponding risk factor, either based on the user risk factor or system-based factor. We have those out-of-box sample based on the feedback and the reference from the end customer. So that's a good reference for you in the outer box. And as you can see, once I click the calculation, the overall risk score will be calculated automatically, and not only for the risk assessment result, also including the calculation result based on the system risk factors, which will be calculated automatically, and the score will be added to the system risk assessment as well. And also, as you can see now, we have the version identifier for the risk result. So you can have multiple risk assessment and calculation, and all the record will be logged here for the future reference and tracking purpose. And now for this specific result, you can see the risk assessment result and the final score. And here is a system-based risk. And if there is any collation, because in this release, we treat the collation as another specific type of the risk. So once any collation has been identified during the risk assessment in the corresponding calendar embedded in this change record, you can see an indicator here. So that's the view from the change coordinator perspective. Then let's take a look at as a change manager or change administrator, how do you define those risk group? Okay, and then I first go to the change management. I click the configuration and go to the risk group definition. I can choose one existing risk group. And here is one of the out-of-box sample we defined for the standard change. And you can see it's already defined several risk factor here, and the corresponding score has been displayed here. And we also, for each risk group, we have a very simple workflow to make sure the draft risk group will not be take effective into the real change assessment. So I can do some modification, add some user-based or system-based risk factor to this risk group. And once I add one specific additional change, I can define the different answer with different score, which can be considered when it calculates the final score of the risk assessment. So this is a user-based risk factors, And we can also take a look at the system-based risk factor. As you can see here is you can define some conditions, and with different result, you can have a different score, and it will be calculated in the backend side when you do the calculation for the change assessment. Okay, now it's a draft version, and when you click the activate, it will go to the active status, which means this specific change group will take effective in the change record. And for different type of the change risk group, you can define the criteria to identify which change type or even which change category it can be applied to. So you have a more flexibility to have a multiple risk group depends on the different criteria. Okay, so that's a demo for the risk assessment and the calculation. Let's get back to the third part is about updates and the installation. And in this section, I will not cover the SM upgrade because for the 962 it's still a very standard and normal minor upgrade. And instead, I want to give you a very high-level introduction about some changes for the SMA deployment. So that's what we call it a single deployment introduced in the February release. So if you are you have installed the SMA before the February, you may be familiar with this page. When you firstly install the SMA suite, you have a multiple capability to allow to choose whether you want to deploy the service portal for the mixed mode, or deploy a service manager in the container, or deploy it as SMAX or SMS. And from the February release, we simplify this deployment mode and try to consolidate all of them. And in such case, during the SM installation, you don't need to figure out whether you want to deploy SM mixed mode or SMAX. Instead, you have one single deployment mode. So as you can see in the screen, on the right-hand side, you have only two capability here. So no matter it's for SM, backend, service portal, or the SMAX, now you only have one single SMA capability. So no matter which backend is used here, you just deploy once, then you can get both capability. Of course, depends on what kind of the license you are having in the SMA suite. And for this February release for the this mixed mode, actually something I want to highlight here is first around the support metrics. So previously for the mixed mode, we support SM version from 941 PD to 960X. And when we having the February release on GA, only the Service Manager 960X will be supported. But for the 941 PD and the 95X will be supported by end of March. So we'll continue to maintain the same support metrics as the previous mixed mode. But something I want to highlight here is from February release, for the search capability, in the portal side, we only support idle-based search. So which means if you are the customer who are using the Solr-based search previously, if you want to adopt the mixed mode from the February release, you need to migrate the Solr to the idle first. So based on that, the major change in the February release, we're considering that to open the smart search capability and then make it free for the SM install base. So which means if you are the SM install base, if you want to deploy the mixed mode, you can get this special download to support the free smart search and to allow you to replace and replace existing Solr-based search and move to the mixed model deployment. And this part for free, but for the additional other capability we're offering in the smart analytics like HTA or smart ticketing, including OCR capability, they still require the smart analytics license. And of course, by leveraging the single deployment mode, you have a capability to extend or enable the SMAX talent. But of course, you need the SMA license to get that capability because SMAX is part of the SMA suite. It still required SMA license. So that's something we want to highlight around the mixed mode. And around the update migration, we will have a more detailed and covered in the following technical webinar for the mixed model deployment. So something I want to highlight here is for the new mixed mode customers, when you consider to move to this new mixed mode, first consideration is around the Solr. As I mentioned before, you need to first migrate to an idle-based search because Solr is not supported in February from the February release. And also for the single sign-on between the service manager and the portal, and the service manager version need to be up 952 P4 or above. So in current screen, we list some key steps you need to consider when you move or deploy this new mixed mode, like talent configuration, and all the business data will be kept in the service manager, so nothing change and nothing to be migrated. And for the scene and portal setting, of course, that's something you need to reconfigure and apply for this service portal. And of course, for the idle, since from February, idle need to be installed outside of the container, so you need to consider that as well. Once you migrate the Solr from Solr to the idle, you need to point it to external idle in the SMA suite. So that's some key steps need to consider for the new deployment of the mixed mode. And if you are the existing mixed mode customers, there's some additional consideration you need to take care of. Firstly, as I mentioned earlier, so first we remove the prepare layer completely. So it means architecture change is quite a lot. And meanwhile, we introduce a single deployment. So even for the existing mixed mode customer, you need to redeploy the new portal to make it works from the February release. And since all the business data remain in the SM, so just the additional portal configuration is required. But previously, because the previous mixed mode is based on Propel, so at that time, Propel in the portal side still has some catalog concept, but from February, since we removed the Propel layer completely, so there is a no more catalog concept in the portal side. So all the catalog administration or management need to be controlled inside of Service Manager. So that's also something you need to consider when you move to the February release. Okay, that's key steps we now I want to highlight for the existing mixed mode customers movement. And next, I will hand over to Tanya to give you some update around the evolution program.
Thank you, Ming. Hi, everybody. It's Tanya with the product management team. You can go to the next slide, please. As Ming said, I just want to give a quick update on the evolution program. Hopefully, the customers on the call have heard about the program before. And while we've got some really exciting additions and enhancements in the 2019-02 release for the Service Manager customer, we do get some Service Manager customers who are interested in better understanding what it would mean to evolve to the SMA X flavor of the SMA suite, so SMAX. And so we put together a program that includes some assets and guidance to help the SM customer make that decision and to evaluate that decision. So the program includes things like ROI and TCO calculators that are specific to SMAX, technical approach for doing the evolution, which is not a migration, but moving from one solution to the other. Some tools where possible. There are connected scripts, for example, to move some of the master data over. And also some project templates for the technical move. We use a tool called Basecamp with our professional services and partners, and have created templates to help with that. And there's a couple of other things in there in the program. It's not there aren't human resources behind the scenes to help with the program. It really is just the materials that we think the customer needs in order to make the business case and then to actually start the implementation, start the evolution. And it's important to note that this program, the creation of the program, does not mean that SM customers are required to move to SMAX, and there's no change to our published roadmap and strategy on Service Manager. So if there's something that you're interested in and you haven't maybe heard about it from your account team, you can email me there. Next slide, please, Ming. For more information, we'll put you in touch with the right folks. So just a quick note, there's a lot on the slide, but I really just want to say that our recommended approach for the customer who's evolving is to go straight to SMAX from Service Manager. You can imagine that that's a little more straightforward than, for example, doing it in either a sort of a process by process approach, or even mixed mode as a first step. Just if all other things being equal, if that was available to you, that would be the recommended approach, just from a simplicity perspective. Now, that is a simplified approach. We know that there are lots of other factors in your environment that might prevent that, but if that's available, then you can see the kinds of activities on the left-hand side here to think about when making that move. And the evolution, as I said, it's not a technical migration, is to start fresh by standing up SMAX and leveraging the out-of-the-box processes as much as possible, and then configuring from there. We know, of course, there's lots of knowledge and master data in Service Manager, and that might make sense to move it over, and you can do that too through the existing solutions for exporting and importing the knowledge, and then, as I said, connected scripts for some of the master data, things like groups, department, and location. You can see here on the right-hand side a couple of options. Some customers have chosen to keep an instance of Service Manager running and maybe doing case exchange between the two solutions. And another option to consider is leveraging SMAX maybe separately, completely independently in a line of business. And if you're on the SMA Suite license, then you can use your licenses for either flavor, SM or SMAX. So I think that opens up a number of different combinations and opportunities. Next slide. And so, as I said, the recommendation is to go direct if you can, just for simplicity's sake, but that doesn't mean that we're not recommending mixed mode. And of course, that's what the February release is all about. So if you're planning to stay on Service Manager, no near-term plans to leverage mixed mode, no near-term plans to evolve to SMAX, then mixed mode is absolutely recommended. And again, an opportunity to leverage SMAX separately if you're on the SMA Suite license. Now, if you're evolving to SMAX in the near term, then yes, it might be more efficient and effective to go directly. And you can see here some of the bullets here in bold are value statements or solutions solved that are unique to SMAX as compared to the mixed mode. So it's not an easy decision, but the evolution program is designed to help you evaluate those different options and make the right choice for you, for your environment. Next slide. I think that might be it, Ming. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Toya. It's a Q&A. Let's quickly go through the question. Oh, since a lot of questions.
And actually, Ming, it looks like most of them have been answered. There's just two that have come in
Okay.
and I think they'll get answered. So in the remaining 3 minutes, you might actually want to go to the remaining material.
Sorry, I have some problem to open this stuff. So Tanya, could you please help me to repeat the open question, which haven't been unanswered?
So actually, what I was going to say was they just came in, and that's why they at literally at 11:56. So I think that's why they haven't been answered. So yeah, I would go back to the content, and then the team can help answer these 3 questions here.
Okay, sure. Okay. So okay, and for the housekeeping, just several heads up for your reference. There are some event or webinar recently and we would encourage you to register all of them and to get more sharing and more latest information from the Micro Focus, also from the SMA install base. So welcome to join. And finally, something I want to highlight is next step is after today's session, we will have a follow-up technical webinar about the mixed mode deployment. And here is a registration link. Please, we'll have a combined session for different time zone and for around 1 hour. And as usual, post the event, we will upload the recording link as well. So yeah, please feel free to join this session. We're scheduled in the 21st of March. Okay, that's all the part for today's session. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your time and patience. And look for your feedback later. Thank you.
Thank you.